And I was asleep in the after battery in my bunk, and he come aboard that submarine, come back there. I guess he told him where I was, and he come back there and shook me. I was asleep, and I remember waking up. I was mad. I said, "You woke me up," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Bachelor. uh, that was Finback, yeah. And he visited with me a while over there. I guess they were tied up there. Tarpon was the name of the submarine he was on. He was on the Tarpon. And I don't remember how he knew where I was. I guess I'd written him or something. Don't know what submarine I was on. But he found me. We were tied up in the submarine base in Oahu, Hawaii.
So, what year did you enlist?
1942, January the 4th of 1942. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. So January the 4th, 1942 was less than 30 days after that attack, and I was in the Navy that soon. And I was in Dallas, Texas, and Bachelor enlisted at the same time, but they sent him to the West Coast, and I went to the East Coast, went to Norfolk, Virginia, and he went to San Diego. But we both enlisted there at the same time in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
We went through high school together, junior high and high school. Jim and George Cacaridis were a good friend. They're both dead now. I would have thought. And George was a hell of an athlete. He was on the football team. He was a hell of a good athlete. They were twins, and they were Greek descent, Cacaridis, and they shortened their name to K, because Cacaridis was difficult for most people to remember. K-A-Y is what they shortened their name to. And George went first. They were twins. And I don't remember how old he was, but it was years ago. He worked for the Commercial Appeal all of his life after he got out of school. He worked for him out part-time when he was in high school, and he went with him full-time. He was Commercial Appeal, and his brother Jim did too. Jim and George Cacaridis, they're both gone. They had a sister named Mary. I don't know if she's living or not. Their dad run a restaurant downtown somewhere. A lot of Greeks are in the restaurant business. Italians are Greek, like the Greeks are both like to cook.
Mm-hmm.
They get in the restaurant business, serving food, you know.
Mm-hmm. What I guess, without sounding silly, what influenced you to enlist in the Navy?
What?
What influenced you to enlist in the Navy?
I was more inclined to Army or Marine Corps, but Bachelor was high on the Navy, and this boarding house that we were staying in Dallas, it was at 525 East Jefferson, and one of the boarders there was a recruiter for the Navy. His name was Pollard. I don't remember his first name, but his name was Pollard, and he was a chief storekeeper in the Navy, and he had gotten recruiting duty in Dallas. And so that was the influence. He was there to recruit us. In other words, when we decided to go in, he never attempted to recruit us before the war broke out. But when the war broke out, well, we went out to see him, and that's what influenced me. The fact that Baxter was pro-Navy over Army or Marine Corps, and then this fellow Pollard was in the recruiting office of the Navy, and we were in the same boarding house with him. We knew him and everything. He knew us. So that's why I wound up in the Navy, because of Baxter and because of Pollard. He was the chief recruiting officer in one of the recruiting stations there in Dallas.
So why a submarine?
Why submarines? Let me see now. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and my rank was a storekeeper, and we had an opportunity come up. They needed radio operators, and come up that I could choose to go to this radio school in New York City, learn the Morse code,
Mm-hmm.
and I took it. I went to New York City for about 2 months, I guess. I was there in a school that taught the Morse code. You know, back then, Morse code is outdated now, but back then, that's the only method of communications, you know, was a Morse code. But, you know, you could write a letter or something, but I mean, instant communications. We didn't have, now you got cell phones all over the world. You can call anybody off. That's Morse code. But I went to that radio school in New York City. I stayed on Pier 92. That they had converted into, the Navy took over that pier. And we slept on that pier going to that radio school. And they, when I finished that, they asked for volunteer. You could volunteer, and I volunteered for submarine service. And not knowing, Baxter did the same thing on the West Coast, and he got in the submarine service. So I went from that radio school into the
And what was the name of the school?
in the submarine service, yeah.
And what was the name of the school?
Huh?
What was the name of the school?
Of the school?
Mm-hmm.
There was a radio school that taught the Morse code.
I mean, I guess
It wasn't
like
the
a.
Navy was operating it.
I got you. I
There
got
was
you.
the
Okay.
Navy personnel there operating the school, teaching
I see.
and everything.
I see. So it was a naval base, and you
Yeah,
went
we
to that
stayed
base.
on the naval pier there,
I got you.
and the Navy operated the school. They taught it,
I got you. Okay.
and from there I went to the West Coast, Oakland, California. It's right across the bay from San Francisco, and I went there in San Francisco, and we got on a ship that took us to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and then there I went on Sperry, the USS Sperry, which is a submarine tender. It was a huge ship, that took care of submarines. They'd pull up side of us, and they refit them, and they call it a submarine tender. The USS Sperry was the name of it. Huge ship, huge ship. And I was on the Sperry there, and was assigned to the submarine Sunfish that was refitting there. During the war, a normal complement of a submarine was about 65 men, but they carried about 80 or 85 for training purposes, overfilled, but normal crew is about 65 men, and I was assigned to the Sunfish, and we made 3 patrols on that, and then after the 3rd patrol, and we used to, after a patrol, which would last up to 2 months at sea, we would stay at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel in Hawaii. At that time, that was the finest hotel in Hawaii. Now it's small and built huge hotels all around it. But at that time, it was the only one. Called it the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. It's still there. I saw it when I went to Hawaii. But it's small compared to these Sheraton, all these big hotels. Huge places. The Japanese love Hawaii as a vacation spot. A lot of the wealthy Japanese come there on their vacation. And that's the place that they bombed, in World War II.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you,
Let's see, I was assigned to the Finback. Yeah.
So how long were you on the Sunfish?
On the what?
It's the Sunfish, right?
2, 4, nearly a year. And about that much time on the Finback, about a year on each one of them.
So when did you get assigned to the Finback?
After the 3rd patrol, they asked for volunteers to switch off, and I didn't have enough time to come back to the States, but I elected to switch off. I just wanted to change. I was tired of it,
What, you were tired of the
and
crew?
I volunteered to
Were you
one that got off,
Mm-hmm.
and they switched me off. But I didn't have enough patrols in to merit coming back to the States, so I had to wait for another assignment, and I was assigned to the Finback. I was on the submarine base there in Honolulu, and I put in another three war patrols, they gave me a total of 6, and that was enough to get new construction, they called it. And new construction was in what's the name? The base in where they build submarines. I can't think of names of places anymore.
I think you're doing...
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Where?
Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I got delayed orders, 30 days to report there, and on delayed orders, that's like a vacation. In other words, you go anywhere you want. Well, I went back to Memphis in that 30 days, and when the 30 days was up, I had to report to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, the submarine base in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's right across from the prison. The Navy has a prison there that they keep prisoners that got on the wrong track in the Navy. And Portsmouth, New Hampshire and they were the submarine Sea Leopard was under construction there, and I was assigned to the Sea Leopard. It's a brand new submarine, and it was in the shipyard being built, finishing up, and they finished that thing up, and we set sail on it, and this was, the war ended while I was in Portsmouth. No, it didn't end there. The war ended after I was assigned to the Sea Leopard, and we started going south, and we got as far as the war ended about then, and we were in Key West, Florida, when the war ended. And then they had a point system. They got so many points for each year of service, so many points for overseas service. And I had enough points that I got out. And I left the submarine in Key West, Florida, and took a train back to Lido Beach, Long Island, New York. They had a discharge center there. And Baxter wound up there too at the same time. Both wound up there. And there was a friend of mine who's a yeoman. I was trying to remember his name, but he was regular Navy and he shipped over. He didn't choose to get out. He shipped over to go stay in the Navy. And he had a 1940 Mercury that his folks had during the war. You couldn't buy gas. Gas was rationed and everything. It only had about 25,000 miles on it, which wasn't a lot. It was a 1940 Mercury, and I bought it from him. I gave him $1,000 for it. I had money because you got paid. You didn't have anything to spend it for, you know. I bought that for $1,000, and that was in 1945. I got out November 15th of 1945. And I gave him $1,000 and got that 1940 Mercury. And Baxter got married. And he and Lee, his wife, and I rode that Mercury all the way back from New York back to Memphis. And Baxter's folks had a farm over in Arkansas, Newport, Arkansas, right outside of Newport, Arkansas. And we drove over there, and I left Baxter and his wife there. And after spending the night there, I went on to Dallas. And Baxter went down there with me, but he wanted to go back. He didn't stay. He went back to Newport and farmed there. Got a job farming there, or buying up those farmers' crops.
So
I stayed in Dallas.
So
I was a Navy for 4 years. I went in January the 4th, 1942, and it liked about a month being 4 years, and got out November 15th of 1945. 42, 43, 45. Another month and I would have been in 4 years. Well, about a month short of 4 years.
So, while you were on the Finback, or was it the Sunfish? Was the first one?
Yeah, first one.
A year for each. A year for the Sunfish and a year for the Finback, roughly, was how long you were on. Did you ever have torpedoes fired at you?
Ever had what?
Torpedoes fired at you.
I don't know if we had never had torpedoes. We've been depth charged. Not torpedoes, but the way they fought submarines was with depth charges. You ever seen these ships where they throw these, look like a barrel?
Yep.
There's a bomb, they throw it off the ship. And it's set to go off at a certain depth, you know. And that's about the only way they have of fighting a submerged submarine is with depth charges. I have been depth charged. where they shake the whole boat, you know.
And what's that like?
Huh?
What was
Well,
that like?
it's not a very pleasant thing. You can hear it like hell. It sounds like a bomb exploding, and it shake the whole ship. But you know, whenever you fired a torpedo, it shook the ship from stern, from bow to stern. That compressed air, that torpedo going off out of that tube, shook the whole ship every time you fired a torpedo.
And did y'all fire a lot of torpedoes?
Yeah, we fired torpedoes.
Did you blow up a lot of ships?
I remember, yeah, we sunk some ships. I didn't get to see them. We were submerged. But through the periscope, they got to see them, but I wasn't
Oh, you saw them through the periscope?
no, I didn't.
Oh, you did not. Because you were on Morse code.
Huh?
You were on communication, right? Morse code?
Yeah, aboard the submarine, but I didn't, the periscope was in the conning tower, and the captain's about the only person that gets a look, you know, or something like fire torpedoes, you know, on the periscope.
Did you ever
I didn't get to see it, but I remember one time we surfaced on a fishing, what looked like a fishing boat, and I was in a line of passing ammunition. Shells are about this long, about a yard long, and about this big around. It's a 4-inch, in other words, it's 4 inch in diameter. And we had to pass the shells, and they slapped them in the breech of the gun, and we surfaced on what looked like a fishing boat. And I was in the line of handling the shells, you know, to the gunner guy. There's one on each side where these things kind of 4-inch deck gun is what we call it. Shot these shells about that long, 4 inches in diameter. And after 1 or 2 shots, I looked up and smoke was pouring out of that fishing boat. And I thought, by God, we hit it the first shot or two. And we hadn't. What happened is they threw everything in the furnace to make that thing go. The smoke was pouring out from their whatever it is that propels the thing, trying to get away, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we ever hit it or not, but they ran like hell, poured everything they had in the thing. But my first impression was, damn, we done hit that thing after 1 or 2 shots, but we hadn't. There was smoke pouring out of it from them trying to get away.
Now the
They
ship.
said that the justification for that is they didn't have no way of fighting back, but they said a lot of those things were queer boats that they used them as outposts to notify the Japanese. They were probably Japanese on them, you know.
I was just about to ask that. The ships that you fired upon, were they battleships? When you fired a torpedo, were they battleships?
Yeah.
So, were they Japanese?
No, I'd say not battleships. They were usually oil freighters or of some kind.
Okay.
Tankers or freighters. I don't think we ever remember engaging a destroyer or a Japanese battleship.
What about now? Which ocean were you in?
The shipping lanes is what we were trying to destroy.
Okay, and which ocean was it?
Huh?
When you were on the both ships, the Sunfish and the Finback, was that Pacific Ocean?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay,
Pacific,
okay.
Yeah, we were never in Atlantic. The only time I was in Atlantic was the new construction of Sea Leopard, who went from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, after it was finished, down to Key West, Florida, and I got off there. But everything else was in the Pacific, South Pacific.
And so, any enemy
Midway
you ever,
Island, we visited at Midway Island one time instead of Hawaii.
right?
Midway, you've heard of Midway, haven't you?
I have.
Midway
Yeah.
Island.
Let me ask you this. So any enemy you ever engaged was Japanese.
And what?
Any enemy that you ever engaged, your ships, your submarines that y'all engaged, any enemy that y'all engaged was Japanese.
Was Japanese.
Yes.
They were all Japanese.
Okay, so you never engaged any kind of, like, you never went face to face with Nazis, with Germans.
Oh, no. This was all in the Pacific.
Okay.
No Germans out there. It was all Japanese. That's who you were fighting, the Japanese. Japanese, yeah. And it wasn't battleships or destroyers that we were fighting. It was their shipping lanes, their freighters and oil tankers and stuff like that that you were trying to destroy. Because they had a lot of those islands that they were supplying, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they was trying to supply the shipping lanes. You were out to destroy their shipping.
Did you ever use a gun? Did you ever use a gun?
Use a gun?
Mm-hmm.
No. The only contact I have with a gun was aboard ship. The guy that's standing deck duty, deck guard, would have a .45 automatic, and I would, whenever you were on duty on that, you carried a gun.
And you did?
Yeah, I did.
45 automatic.
45 automatic.
And how many? What
Clip held about 6 shells.
And what kind of shifts would you do?
What kind of what?
Shifts. How many hours?
What kind of what?
When you shifts. How long did you do that? When you had to do it? Patrol, guard.
Oh, that was only when you were in dock. At sea, you didn't have any watch, but you always had a below decks and a top deck watch. 2, one below decks and one top deck. The most important was the one that was on top. That was only when you were in dock, or you were tied up
Right.
in a dock, that you had someone on duty all the time that was armed, you know. Topside, you were topside with that .45, and that's the only gun we had machine guns. When we surfaced on the 4-inch deck gun, had the big shells, but we had 50 caliber machine guns that could use on the surface. When you submerged, the only weapon you had was your torpedoes. There were 6 tubes in the front and the bow, and 4 in the back. That was 10 torpedoes in the tubes, and you had a reload for every tube. So you went out with a total of 20 torpedoes. 10 were in the tubes, and you had 6 up front and 4 in the back reloads that you could, after you fired them, you could reload one time. 6 tubes up front, there were torpedoes in them, and 6 reloads. And I remember when you fired those things, it would shake the whole ship, would shiver, you know.
Sure.
No noise from it, it's quiet, but the captain would say, fire 1, and the whole ship would shake when they fired. Fire 2, and it shivered from stem to stern, but the ship would shake. That's that compressed air forcing that torpedo out.
So, did you ever go hand to hand with anybody?
Hand to hand? No.
Never killed anybody?
No, never killed anybody. Some of those people may have drowned on those ships that we hit, but I didn't have any personal history of it. I guess we did pick up the bushes I had to be. But Bush, I know the fella that did our blinds. I was telling him about that, picking up George W. Bush out of the Pacific Ocean. He said, I wish you'd left him there. He didn't like Bush. I wish you'd left him there.
So what happened with that? What happened with that? How did that happen?
How did it happen?
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember the name of the island, but Bush was a pilot, one of the youngest in the Navy, according to what I've heard, about 20 or 21 years old.
And you were
he
older.
was flying off of an aircraft carrier, the San Jacinto.
You were older, correct?
I was about 22. I'm about 2 years older than George
Okay.
W. Bush. He was about 20 at that time. I think I was about 22, maybe. But he was flying off of an aircraft carrier. The name of, what did I say the name of it was? It's a Spanish name. San Jacinto aircraft carrier was the name of it. And he had a radio man and a gunner with it, and he was a pilot with a radio man and a gunner. And I think they were bombing this installation on this island. And I think he went ahead and dropped his bombs, but he was hit, and the plane was hit. And he said he turned it windward so his crewman could jump out, and he jumped out. And I don't think the crewman, there's no knowledge or anybody knows what the hell happened with them. Neither one of them survived. That was the gunner and the radio man on board that ship. They were never heard of again. But he jumped out and had a life raft. It was with him when he hit the water, and that thing inflated, and he was in that rubber boat.
So he was not in an airplane? He wasn't in a fighter plane?
Bush was.
Oh, okay.
But he got hit, and
right.
He had to abandon the plane.
I got you, okay.
And the two guys with him were never heard of. They went down with the plane somewhere. But he jumped out and landed in the ocean there. And
somewhere in the Pacific.
Yeah, and we spotted him.
Right? What region was that? What was that close to?
I can't remember the name of the island, but it was one of those South Pacific islands over there that had a Japanese installation on it, and the San Jacinto was bombing it, sending planes out to bomb it. And Bush was the pilot of one of those planes, and he got hit with an anti-aircraft fire, and he bailed out. And this is the old man Bush, George H.W. Bush. And we spotted him in his rubber boat.
When you were on the finback?
Yeah, when I was on the finback. And you've seen that. I've seen pictures of where the 2 or 3 guys pulled him out of the boat on the submarine. Just a brief, I didn't ever know that picture was made. But somebody up there on the bridge had a camera and shot that picture of him.
Were you one of the ones pulling him out?
Was that what?
Were you one of the ones lifting him out of the water?
No.
You all had a crew of 85, is that right?
About 80. But there was 2 or 3 that pulled him out of the water. Dr. Mike said he heard the name of one of them. It didn't ring a bell with me. Some name. I can't remember the names of all those fellows. But they pulled him out of the water. A couple of them did. And out of his boat, you know. And he was on the ship with us. And we picked up 2 or 3 more that were shot down. Not on the same plane. The 2 that was with him were never heard of. But we picked up, I think it was 3 more.
Same day?
No, a day or 2 later. that were in the ocean where we picked them up. I know one of them was in a raft, and we went in close to the island, and he caught a hold of the periscope, and I was in the conning tower, and they could say they could see him, and we pulled him away from the island with him holding on to the periscope, pulled him out far enough that we come to the surface and got him. But there were 3 other fellows. I can't remember their names. One of them was from Memphis here, and I was in the radio room. I remember him coming in there, and I talked to him for a while, but I swear I can't remember his name now. But that was a total of 4, counting Bush. He had no people with him, but we had 3 others that we picked up that were shot down.
So how long were you on that ship with him, on that sub with?
I would say that another 2 to 3 weeks before we were back in port. And I remember Bush used to stand watch on the bridge when we were on the surface at night. And his radio man used to come in the radio shack and visit with me, but I can't remember his name now. The radio shack was in the control room, a small compartment in the control room. And I can't remember the guy's name.
What else do you remember about George Bush? Did you have personal conversations with him?
No, I didn't have on aboard the ship. I don't ever remember having a conversation with him. But I did that with his radio man. I wasn't his radio man. It was another one that picked up that visited with me. But I didn't have any. I didn't know the guy would get to be president. I would have paid more attention to him. He was just another guy.
Because the show, you should be nice to everyone you meet, right?
Huh?
You should be nice to everyone you meet.
I can't hear you.
I said you should be nice to everyone you meet.
That's right. There might be somebody someday.
That's right. And they might remember you.
Yeah. Well, I got a call. He had his 1,000 points of light, and he was coming to Memphis here to make a speech.
What is the 1,000 points of light?
It was something that when he was president, he was 1,000 points of light. It was some political movement that he was trying to promote, get people to help each other. They called it 1,000 points of light. Everybody helping everybody else and that sort of thing. Political stuff,
Goodwill.
Yeah, he was a president, and he was coming to Memphis here to make a speech. And I got a call from some gal in Washington. Before that, I got a call from Washington trying to identify me as being on the submarine, the finback that picked up Bush. And I said, yes, I was on that submarine. So they had me identified. They found me, And then when Bush was coming to Memphis, I got a call from them. They wanted to know if I wanted to go down and meet him at the airport when he got in. And I said, yeah. I can't remember what year this was, but he was president at the time. The old Bush, the old man.
Right. Wasn't it around 1989?
I went down to the airport.
Wasn't it around 1989?
Huh?
Doesn't 1989 sound about right?
Let me think a minute. What year was that? Just see, he was in there before Clinton. Clinton beat him in his second term. Now, when did Clinton go in? I can't remember years, Luke.
That was, Clinton got elected in 92 and started his term in 93.
Okay, well, this was, he was president 3 or 4 years, the 4 years before Clinton, before Clinton's first term.
So that's why I was thinking it was 1989.
I can't remember the year. But anyway, I went down there, and
You went down. Was it the Memphis International Airport?
Yeah.
So he flew in to the major. He didn't fly into a private airport.
It was Memphis International Airport. Air Force One come in, and we were lined up there when the plane landed, and he got off, and there was some black politician from Memphis, one of the Fords, got off that plane with him. What was the name of the Ford? The one that Harold Ford. It was Harold Ford, I guess. The politician, was one of the Ford families that was in Memphis, run office for so long, was on that same plane. I didn't have to shake hands with him, but when Bush got off, I was in a line there to greet him, shake hands with him. And I told him that I was there when we picked him up in the Pacific, and he said something about it. If it wasn't you, I wouldn't be here, or something like that to that effect. And that was all. I just had a brief meeting with him, and he went on shaking hands with others there to greet him, So I got to see him again. I'd seen him aboard that submarine when he was 20 years old. But when he was president, that was 35 or 40 years later, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. So I guess he probably was what, in his 60s? He was probably in his 60s then?
I guess he was in his 60s then. Yeah, probably was. So he's the only president I ever met and shook hands with.
I met.
But I didn't pay any attention to him on that submarine. He was one of 4. We had 3 others that we picked up, and they didn't amount to nothing.
Sure. I said sure.
He's the only one that amounted to anything. I mean, that got to be president. And if I'd known he was going to be president, I'd have paid more attention to him. But I didn't pay attention to him.
I was going to tell you. I met W. I met George W. Bush.
I met him.
No, you met George Bush Sr. I met Jr. I met George W. Bush.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that. When?
Right before he got elected president.
Is that right? Well, I didn't know that. Where was that, Luke?
Well, he had a convention here in Memphis.
Oh, I didn't know. And you met him?
I met him up on stage.
Is that right?
I sure did. It was broadcast on CNN, all the major news networks.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's probably a recording of it.
He was running for president at that time.
That's right.
That's a younger Bush.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know that. Well, I don't go for this Jeb Bush. There's too many Bushes. Something's wrong when you got 3 people from the same family getting to be president.
I agree.
It's not right.
Let me ask you something else about World War II. Did you ever get into a fight with anyone?
And a fight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did once in the Navy.
What happened?
With the shore patrol. And I wound up in a brig.
What happened?
I don't know. I was sitting in this bar. What town was this?
So y'all were docked. Y'all were docked. You went to a bar.
Yeah. This was in New London. I guess it was one of those towns outside of Portsmouth. And I was in a bar, and it was about closing time, curfew time, or must have been about midnight. And I was sitting there at the bar with my drink, and I had my leg up like on the edge of the chair, something like this, And somebody come along and knocked my leg off. And boy, I got up and swung at him and it tapped me. I didn't know it was a shore patrol. It was a shore patrol, you know, rousing everybody out. The place was going to close up, you know. And I got up and swung on him, and that was a mistake. I wound up.
You hit him?
Huh?
You hit him.
And everybody was telling me to run, you know. The shore patrol closed in on me, but I wasn't going to run. Hell, I hadn't done anything wrong. But I wound up in the brig as a result.
How long?
And I didn't hit him that hard.
How long were you in the brig?
A day or two.
Wow.
I think I spent 1 or 2 nights there. I can't remember.
Where did you hit him?
I don't remember. I swung. I didn't swing but once or twice, maybe twice. And I didn't know. I didn't do any damage to him, if that's what you mean.
No, I mean, did you hit him in the face?
I think I hit him the side of the head, on the side of his head. But I didn't know it was a shore patrol. I just thought somebody had...
Was getting an attitude.
Huh?
Somebody was just getting an attitude and
Yeah.
wanting to give you a hard time.
I swung. I didn't know I was swinging on the shore patrol. But you're not supposed to swing at the shore patrol group.
That's funny.
I just thought it was somebody that pushed me around.
Right.
I remember old Baxter was there and he laughed about it. About me getting, after I got out of the brig, you know, laughed about it. But he saw what happened. He was there. He was in that same place. That was in New London. Yeah, no, that wasn't New London. What was that? It was one of those towns outside of Portsmouth. I can't remember the name of it. But it was full of Navy sailors. They didn't have, that was all the business they had. The bar, nightclubs, serving sailors, you know.
Did you know Grandma at that point?
At what?
Did you know Grandma at that point? When did you meet her?
After I got out of the Navy, I was working in Dallas, and old John Branch. I don't remember how they said I was in the Navy with him too. I was on the same ship with Branch.
Why don't you turn on that light right there?
John Branch was on the same boat with it. We were on the Sea Leopard together, is where we were on the, put it in a new construction.
Mm-hmm.
And he was from Memphis, John Branch was. And we were both in Dallas. And he one time said, let's go down to the YWCA. They're having a dance down there. It's Valentine's Day dance. The Valentine's Day, what year would that have been? 1946, I guess 1946. And I said, okay, what was that?
That was just the Kleenex box. Yeah.
So we got in his car and we went around to the YWCA in 1946. And they had a big ballroom in there, and it was full of women from all over Texas. I never saw so many women. And we were looking them over, and I saw this one gal there that looked like they were together with two of them. And the one was a blonde and the other was a brunette, or redhead, kind of reddish brown hair. And I said, John, you take that blonde there and I'll dance with the other one. And John Bragg said, okay. And he went over. I think B was the name of the blonde, and Margie was the one that I picked. And the first thing she ever asked me was, "What's your name?" Like that. And so we left there.
And what did you say when she asked you that?
I said, "Aloysius." I was trying to be funny, you know, instead of saying Alvin or Al, I said Aloysius.
And then did you ask her what her name was?
Yeah. And she told me, and we left there immediately. We didn't stay around. That place was full of women. And I know I needed my car, and I said, "John, you take me." We were boarding together, had a room together. Miss Clivis was our landlady. And my car was parked at her house. And I said, "Take her by to get my car." And he did. He dropped me and Margie off at my house, and I got in my car. That was the old 1940 Mercury. I had a 1940 Mercury, still had it. And that was where I met Margie right there. I picked her out of all those, I've always told her, all those women there, all those girls there from all over Texas, they'd come there for that dance.
So what did y'all do when y'all left?
Huh?
What did y'all do when y'all left?
I can't remember now where I went. Went to someplace. Can't remember now. Just where we went. But anyway, I got to know her and making her regular after that.
And how long? And
3 months later, we got married.
How long?
3 months after I met her.
You got married?
And she arranged it.
Did y'all have an engagement?
Yes, 3 months we were engaged.
So you asked her to marry you right after you met her?
I'd say within 3 weeks or a month, yeah.
And then y'all were engaged for 3 months.
And then y'all were engaged for 3 months.
And then you got married.
And in that period of time, she, her landlady, she was boarding with another girl at a separate room with a separate entrance in Highland Park in Dallas. And that's where she was. And her landlady arranged for her father, that was a well-to-do person, had a beautiful home there in Dallas, for us to have a wedding in her father's home. And she arranged for the minister. He was, Goodrich was his name, and he was the minister of the First Baptist Church in Dallas. And he come out to the home and perform the ceremony, and all of her, big crowd of people there, all her friends were there and mine at our wedding. It was a wedding in a home. Reverend Goodrich.
A wedding in a home.
And
why did y'all not want to get married in a church? Why did you not want to get married in a church?
I don't guess either one of us was a church-going person. I don't think we went to. I didn't go to church in Dallas. I didn't have any affiliation with the church.
I see.
But Georgia's landlord.
You mean Margie's?
Margie's landlord was affiliated, had a minister and everything. His name was Goodrich, First Baptist Church in Germantown. Mm. And she arranged for him to come to her father's home and perform the wedding. So we were married by a Baptist minister. His name was Goodrich. Performed the ceremony, and all of Margie's friends were there, and my friends were there. The place was full. There was a lot of people there. And I still had my 1940 Mercury. And we left there in my 1940 Mercury. Somebody had tied tin cans to the back bumper And I got a block away, and I got out, cut those cans loose, left them in the street. Left them in the street.
So, did both of y'all's families approve of each other? Did her family approve of you, and did your family approve of her?
I never met her family, and she never met mine.
That's
we
interesting.
were in Dallas, and she had no family in Dallas, and I had no family in Dallas. I remember she called her dad in Ethel, Mississippi, and told him she was getting married. And he said, "Oh no, don't do that," you know. Which I guess it was. But I never met them, and she hadn't met my family.
But when y'all did meet, when you did meet them, and then your family met her, did everybody get along?
Oh yeah, yeah, everybody got along. After we'd been married a couple of months, so we made a trip from Dallas to Ethel, and I met her family before she met mine, and then we came on up to Memphis. That little town of Ethel there, Steve Graham, her father was a mayor there, but it was a little old ramshackle. It was a little old, didn't amount to, I don't know, the population was probably 600 or 700 at most. Little bitty town outside of Kosciuszko, about 5 miles outside of Kosciuszko, little town.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. I've told you more of my life story here than
I find it compelling. I find it compelling.
compelling. Well, it's not very, nothing very exciting about it.
Oh, I think it's very exciting, actually.
Yeah. I don't know whatever happened to John Branch. He was 2 years older than me, so if he were still living, he'd be 95, and I'm sure he's not.
And he was the one that married you and Grandma. No.
He was
No,
a
is that
friend of
right?
mine that when I met Margie. Was with
Oh, I'm sorry. I got. What was the person's name that married you and Grandma?
Reverend Goodrich.
Okay. John Branch
John Branch
was the one that
took me down
to the
to
YWCA.
YWCA.
I
having this
got it.
Valentine's Day dance. That must have been in February.
Mm-hmm.
And we were married about 3 months later.
Right.
Yeah,
So
3 months later.
Grandma never worked.
No, after she never worked. After we married, she never worked again. Back then, Luke, most women didn't work. One man could support a family, but now it takes 2 incomes to get by. Most every couple now, both of them work.
That's true.
Back then, it wasn't common, the women stayed home and cooked and took care of the kids and that sort of thing.
Were things better that way?
I think they were.
Yeah.
I think they were a lot better then. But Margie never worked. She had 4 children and she just took care of the children and worked in the house, housework. Housewife, they call them,
Mm-hmm. So how did you get into the grocery business?
How'd you what?
Get into the grocery business.
Well, I got in the grocery business, I guess, when we started out on Barksdale. I delivered groceries on a bicycle over there when I was still in school in the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I was big enough to deliver groceries, and for several years we had a store at 863 South Barksdale. There was a Kroger on that corner.
It was a Kroger?
Drugstore.
It wasn't a Kroger.
What?
It wasn't Kroger.
Yeah, Kroger was on the same corner.
Kroger's been around that long?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Pop worked for Kroger for about 9 years before he went in business for himself. In business on Barksdale and Nelson. There was a little store there that he bought. I think it cost $3,000, and he borrowed the money to buy it. And
Your dad did. So he bought a grocery store.
He bought it for $3,000.
Okay.
And
it was just a small one, right? I mean, just real.
Oh, it's a tiny place. I guess it was 600 or 700 square feet. You'd have to see it over there. It's real small. And I know JD, we've been out on the farm, and JD had made money plowing. JD was 5, 6 years older than me. And I guess that time I was in about the 3rd grade. But JD was about 5 or 6 years older. He was in the 8th or 9th grade. He was big enough to plow, you know. But I remember him saying that the money he made on the farm was the money we used for store change when Pop got in that first store. He used what he had earned, you know, for store change to start out with. And we lived on Evelyn. We moved from Selmer back to Evelyn. And that's where we were living. And I delivered groceries when I was a kid there, all over that neighborhood. We had free delivery. And we had bicycles, and we stepped a bushel basket on the back, and we would set an order, another bushel basket inside that, and deliver groceries free delivery. Anybody just called in. We had 2 telephones on the counter there, and you would answer the phone and take their order, fill it, and I'd deliver it and collect for it when I delivered it. They'd give you change for $10. What you would do is pay for the order, like the order come to $3.50, and you had the $10 that they supplied you. You would buy the order for $3.50, and then when you delivered it, you would collect the $3.50, and you had your $10 back. You come back to the store and get another order and pay for it. And when you got to the customer's house and they paid you, you had your $10 back.
Mm-hmm.
You got paid $1 a day to do that. And at the end of the day, you had to turn in your change money, your $10, and you got $1 for the day's work.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't much for a day's work, is it, Luke?
It doesn't sound like it even back then.
Even back then, it wasn't much. That's right. But a delivery boy got $1 a day.
So then what happened? I mean, how did that evolve from...
Well, while I was down there in Dallas, JD got a bigger store, Big Star 31 at Quincy.
Now, your dad bought the first one.
Yeah.
And what did he call it?
And JD was in the butcher shop. He learned to cut meat and that sort of thing.
What was the store called?
Baker Brothers.
Baker Brothers? That's it?
That's it. Well, Malone Hyde had a group they called Live Wire Stores at first, and they changed the name of it to National Brand Stores. And at that time, there was 2 or 3 groups here. One was We Own the Stores, and the other one was Easy Way. You've heard of Easy Way. They still got some produce stores here.
Yeah.
And National Brands. And we were a National Brand store, and Malone and Hyde was our supplier. They were the wholesaler. And the first big break came. I wasn't here at the time. I was in Dallas, but they got the store at Quince and Perkins. Big Star 31 was the name of it. That was one of the first big stars here in Memphis. And that store was very successful. Did a whale of a good business. Colonial Acres was just...
That was the one.
Wallace Johnson was building a lot of homes. That's the founder of Wall... what's the name of the hotel chain that he founded? Wallace Johnson. There's a time that the founders of the Holiday Inns, you know. But he was building homes all around.
I thought Kemmons Wilson was the founder.
Kemmons Wilson was the founder, really, yeah. But it was the same time that was happening what's the I can't remember names anymore. But anyway, Colonial Acres was being developed here. That's new homes going in all around that store.
Now, was the one at Quince and Perkins, was that JD's store?
That was what?
The one at Quince and Perkins, which store? That wasn't the first one. Where was the first one located?
Barksdale.
Where the second one was at Quince and Perkins?
Yeah.
And that was much more successful than Barksdale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It didn't start out being. It started out with doing even less than Barksdale with it. All those homes being built around there. Wallace Johnson was a big builder at that time, and he was building homes all around there.
Where did JD...
Had a building boom going on.
Where did JD get the money to do that?
The profits from that store on Barksdale.
That your dad, and so JD was in that business as a partner with your dad.
Ben too.
And when did you enter into the equation? When did you come along? When did you become a part of it?
Well, I was there when it first went in business, Barksdale. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I delivered groceries there. But I was
for the Barksdale one.
No, for the Barksdale store.
Right.
And I was not there when they acquired Big Star 31. I was in Dallas at that time.
And that was at?
That's Quince and Perkins.
Quince and Perkins.
And that was the most successful store of all of them.
So at that point, you weren't a part of it?
I wasn't a part of it. I wasn't a part of it until JD got the store in Parkway Village.
Was that the third one?
That was the third one, yeah.
Okay.
And he invited me. He called me and asked me to come up, and they started me out in that store.
So that's why you moved from Dallas. That's why you moved from Dallas back to Memphis.
Right.
And just side question, were you born here in Memphis?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born in Selmer.
Okay.
That's about 80 miles from here. But I went from Selmer, I come to Memphis, and Pop worked for a Kroger store here. Buyers, he worked for Buyers, and they were bought out by Kroger. And I remember the first couple of years that I was in school, I was here in Memphis. And before I started school, I don't remember, but I was in Selmer, I guess. For the first couple of years, I went to the first and second grade here in Memphis. And then the Depression hit. Remember the Great Depression in 1929?
I don't recall that.
And Pop lost his job. That was long before your time. You wouldn't remember that.
That's right.
So we had a bad depression, and Pop lost his job, and we had to move back to Selmer on the farm. And we spent a couple of years there, and then so Pop got the store on Barksdale. He borrowed the money to buy it, $3,000, and we all moved back. And we worked in that store. Ben did, I did, Judy did, Lee did. We all worked in that store. Delivered, my job, JD was working in a meat shop, learning to cut meat. But me and Ben delivered groceries.
So JD asked you to move from Dallas back to Memphis.
Right.
You did it.
Yeah.
You became a partner
Became a partner.
in the whole business.
They slowly started.
All 3 locations.
Yeah. That's right.
They sold you stock.
Right. Slowly stock in it, which I paid for out of my earnings. I started at $18,000 a year, which is pretty big money back then.
Sure.
Wouldn't be nothing now. But it was enough that I bought stock out of that $18,000 a year. Bought stock in the business. Became a stockholder. And Lee did too, and John did too. John was invited back. He was in Vermont or something after he got out of the service, got a job up there.
Mm-hmm. And
JD brought him back. He was a lot younger than the rest of us. He was the youngest.
So you took a cut out of your earnings, out of your $18,000 to buy stock in the company.
Right. That's what I did.
But it was private. It was private. It wasn't a publicly traded.
Yeah, back then on $5,000 or $6,000 a year.
Sure, but you weren't. It wasn't a publicly traded stock.
No.
It was all private.
All private, yeah. Private, yeah. The only stockholders were members of the family.
In other words, when you say you bought stock, you just bought ownership, basically, of the company.
Buying ownership of the company.
Is what you mean by buying stock.
Yeah. We became a part owner of the company.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how many stores did y'all end up with?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stores counting Barksdale.
The first. Barksdale was the first.
First, right.
Where was store number?
Fraser came in about the same time as Parkway Village.
Parkway Village was number 3.
I think, yeah, number 3.
Fraser was number 4.
I think Fraser was number
5.
2.
Well,
was first. 31 was the second. Fraser was the third, and 64 was the fourth.
Where was 64?
That's in Parkway Village.
Okay.
3071 South Perkins.
And where was number 5?
Number 5 was at Winston White Station. Ain't nothing there now, I don't think. That store never did too good. What's there now? Winston White Station. There's a laundry built out on the front there.
Right.
And there was a Hancock McDonald.
That's right. It's by Three Little Pigs.
Huh?
By Three Little Pigs.
Yeah, Three Little Pigs is in there. That's right. Well, there's no store there anymore. Let's see. Walgreens built a store there. There's a big Walgreens there. But where 81 is I think it was vacant. I don't know what's in there now. Hadn't been there in a long time. That store never did too well. Never did what it should have done.
So what kind of money were you making as a partner? I mean, you were part owner and operator, right?
Yeah.
You were running. How many locations were you running?
I was just in that one store.
And which one did you run?
64, Parkway Village. JD was at 81, Winston White Station. Ben was over on Barksdale. John was out in Fraser, 61, Big Star 61 in Fraser. And Lee was at 31, the old dude, toward Winston Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, what was I going to say? But 81 never did real well. It never made much.
So you probably should have stopped at number 4.
Should have stopped at number 4. Yeah, that was the last one. Number 5 was Quincy White Station. Wine Gardens had that store, and they left Memphis, and J.D. got it, bought it, and was doubtful about buying it. It was so close to 31, just a short distance from 31 on Quincy and Perkins, and Quincy and White Station is just a very short distance between them.
Mm-hmm.
And he was hesitant about buying it, being that close to 31, but he went ahead and took it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess where my money come in is I started $18,000 a year, but that was just salary. He would pay bonus out of the profits. We'd get a nice bonus every 6 months or something like that, of $15,000 or $20,000. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was soaking that money in the stock market, Luke. Whenever I had that extra money, I'd stick it in the stock market.
Not just investing in stock in your company, but
no.
you were buying publicly traded companies.
Like Procter & Gamble or Sheridan Plow or General Electric or some of those big blue chip stocks, you know.
And when did you start doing that?
I started doing that as soon as I had the money to do it with.
I'm asking, how old were you?
About 43, 42, 43. But I was making enough money that I had money that I could invest. And Ben got me started. Ben was in the stock market. Back then, we didn't have these, like Fidelity and all these brokers companies. You had to call Merrill Lynch, had salesmen, and you call a salesman at Merrill Lynch or someplace. And the cost was pretty expensive to buy a stock. You know, it wasn't like it is now. I buy a stock for commission just $6 or $7. If you get a special rate, if you got over $1 million in the stock market, you get a real low rate. I don't know what you have to pay. When you buy a stock, how much commission do you pay?
Oh, it's cheap. It's $8.
$8? Well, that's about what I pay. I thought I was getting a special rate, but you're getting the same rate I get. About $8 for a trade.
I think it's $7.95.
That's good. Well, I see the discount brokers, you know, it got real cheap. And you can do it on the computer. You don't have to do it like you did back then. But Ben is one that got me started. Ben was already investing in the stock market. And he got me started investing in it. And I've got stocks that I've had for 30 years, I guess. And some of it done better than others, but
So basically your trick was any extra money you made that you didn't have to live on, you invested in the stock market.
that's what I did. I went in the stock market. Of course, I had living expenses. You know, I was buying houses and
Sure. Cars.
and houses, and living pretty well, you know.
Children. You had a family to support. Children.
Yeah, and that's expensive. It costs money. But I guess the stock market is what did it for me. I don't know if I just put it in the bank, I wouldn't have. I guess I was paying a little interest, paying practically nothing now. But back then, I guess you'd get 4 or 5% in the bank.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you if you agree with this.
Okay.
Would you say that it's safe to say and conclude?
Say what?
Would you say that it's safe to conclude that it's more difficult to make money in the stock market today than it was 40 or 50 years ago, simply for the fact that there's a lot more competition today than there was 40 or 50 years ago. And so the likelihood of picking the right company today, you have less of a chance of picking the right one. Because if you look at the companies that you invested in 40 years ago or 50 years ago, okay, they were more in a growth period. Wouldn't you agree? They were more in a growth period. They had a lot more room to grow. Yeah. Whereas today, a lot of those companies have reached maturity.